Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is a Monday, November 3rd, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words in the upper left-hand corner that say Start Here, it'll take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet, and it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 21 years now to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again absolutely free. You can also download from that webpage a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through the worksheet process. And if you choose to listen to them even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words HeartLand Aramaic Forgiveness. If you choose to do that before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet. It contains an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and it contains a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. We hope people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. And secondarily, because it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. If you have any of those to share with us, we would appreciate you doing so. If you can join us on zoom.us, the meeting ID number for this first hour is 853-2357-4173. If you join through a phone number that Zoom makes available, you'll join being muted, and you can unmute yourself with *6. So, greatly appreciate when people share with us. If you're not able to join us live, you can email me at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org. And you can email Jeannie at jeanie@whyagain.org. It's whyagain.org. So, we're here on a Monday with plenty of time for comments, questions, suggestions. Just as we were reading the last few days that we've had the show last week, I was reading from the book, the most recent book by Guy Finley titled One Love, One Life, One Journey. And please remember, even if I seem to be in the middle of reading or in the middle of a monologue on a roll, feel free to unmute and speak up and or raise a hand if you're using the Zoom app. This next part of Chapter 5 in this book is titled Hope Rekindled, the most uplifting message you'll ever hear. And Guy Finley writes, the heart of what is being revealed in these short essays and the timeless quotations that support their supposition The heart of what's being shared is the most encouraging message anyone will ever hear. Here's that message. What is sacred, with a capital S, wants to be discovered by us. Imagine that. Imagine that even more with each effort we make to approach it, the divine life approaches us. In fact, it leads us toward it. How can we fail when all the forces of the universe are on our side? We must do our part by taking those first faltering steps toward higher understanding, and take those steps with humility, honesty, and an abiding curiosity. Here's just a sampling of quotes that tell us this is so. In the New Testament, he quotes them saying, God made man so that he could seek the Lord. And Muhammad is quoted as saying, if you walk toward him, he comes to you running. And there's another quote here from Abu Yazid al-Bistami. The quote is, for 30 years I sought God. But when I looked carefully, I found that in reality, God was the seeker and I was the sought. He quotes St. Francis of Assisi saying, what you are looking for is what is looking. And he quotes Meister Eckhart as saying, quote, the eye by which I see God is the same as the eye by which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one and the same. Guy Finley writes, add to that meditation, the true action of a quiet mind. This meditation is not the path to the divine, it is the action of the divine reflecting upon itself. Now that alone, that thought could be used by any one of us in our meditation to take us to a much, much deeper level. Meditation, the true action of a quiet mind, is not the path to the divine, but that meditation, that true action of a quiet mind, is the action of the divine reflecting upon itself. Yes, the sacred, capital S, sacred, is one of life's greatest mysteries, a mystery whose solution lies right within ourselves. Everything we long for is longing for us, and the doorway to it and its discovery leads right into your own heart. You can and must not just explore these encouraging truths, but do the work to prove that their assertions are in fact true. The heavens above are found in the awakening human heart. And while these mysteries are without doubt profound, there are ways to bring them down into your daily life, where we can begin to see for ourselves the truth of another timeless message. That message is, as above, so below. When you start to understand the intimate connection between you and that which animates the body, animates your heart beating and your food digesting and your breath when you're not thinking of it. Actually, your breath even when you are thinking of it. So this is part of why Michael Ryce likes to ask people the question, do you know how to raise your hand above your head? And most people say, yeah, and they just prove it by doing it. And he says, no, I need you to understand and then be able to tell me all of the things that have to happen for your hand to get raised above your head. Like the brain cells that have to fire and telling which nerves to fire on which muscles to activate which tendons, and we don't know any of that. And yet it's there. It's like water to the fish. It's what we live, move, and have our being in. And we get to essentially tell it what to do. Michael likes to quote from the scriptures where it says, "Of the works of my hand, command me ye." Tell me what to do and I'll do it. What's it that's doing it? The creative force itself, consciousness itself, God, light, love, the universe, whatever you want to call it, life. The idea of the power of our ability to focus our mind energy, that idea is so new to people. And yet everyone I know who's focused on that, practiced with it, and worked with it has found that it just keeps showing more and more power and effectiveness as time goes on. In the going with the flow kind of way, not the banging my head against the brick wall kind of way, but in my practicing being in allowance, being in surrender, being open to humility, being open in direct observation, and asking to be taught by the flow of life, what ends up happening is the power of what I'm able to focus on and my ability to have, as Guy Finley says, whatever you focus on will teach you about itself. So my ability to continually put myself in the position of a perpetually avid student is the pathway to mastery, to be open to being taught every moment. The next section of the book is titled The Shocking Secret of True Success. And Guy Finley writes, most of us believe that achieving success is an enviable thing. And yet, when we hear the experiences of people who have attained what we think of as success, they often tell us it just isn't what it's cracked up to be. Perhaps you've seen a few of those very telling interviews with major celebrities and sports stars where, in a moment of honest confession, they share a shocking revelation. In the very moment of winning all they had thought would make them happy and whole, they were visited by a terrible emptiness, where each asked him or herself in one way or another, is this all there is? It makes you wonder if maybe our ideas about success are completely off base. Maybe we're running after the wrong thing, if what we're truly looking for is a sense of contentment, belonging, and inner peace. Many of the great sages across time have offered a different view of success. Here's a quote by the 20th century psychologist and a highly respected and successful man by the world standards, William James. He turns the whole idea of success on its head, and he writes, quote, I am done with great things and big things, great institutions and big success. And I am for those tiny, invisible, molecular, moral forces that work from individual to individual, creeping through the crannies of the world like so many rootlets, or like the capillary oozing of water, yet which, if you give them time, will render the hardest monuments of man's pride. Close quotes. Guy Finley writes, there are so many great points made in this quotation. First, James, who, as I said, had great success in life, he says he's done with all of those things that people think of as important. He has no interest in the admiration of the world. Instead, he values those tiny, invisible, molecular, moral forces that work through the individuals and tear down false pride. He says further, in this quote from a letter to a friend, these individuals are touched by, quote, eternal forces of truth, close quotes. And for him, this is the basis of genuine success that is known in the world of, quote, bigness, close quotes, and greatness, close quotes. James is talking about an inner success that brings us the deeper understanding and peace we really want. It's what we might think of as, quote, spiritual success, close quotes. What is spiritual success? It seems more mysterious than the worldly success we thought we wanted. What is this new kind of success actually about? One true sign of spiritual success is when at long last we realize not only are we always standing in the right place for us to be in that moment, even more telling is this: regardless of how that moment unfolds, there is no one else on earth we would rather be. So, you will understand a new level of spiritual success when at long last you realize you are always standing exactly where you should be. And you'll understand that there's no place else on earth you would rather be as you awaken spiritually, as you step into what he's calling here true spiritual success. Guy goes on and writes, it's critical to understand the difference between living from something within yourself, whose nature is contentment itself, and living from those parts of yourself that are forever seeking contentment. There's a huge difference, Guy Finley's saying, between understanding that you can live from a place within yourself, which is pure contentment, or you can live from that place within yourself that's always seeking something to try and help it feel contentment. Guy goes on and writes, for the man or woman who persists with the wish for capital T truth / capital G God, for the man or woman who persists with this wish for truth or God to be the first in life, there really is no such thing as failure. Why? Well, because every action taken under the auspices of this inner wish purifies the person who's holding that wish in his or her heart. This leaves greater clarity and more inward certainty about what forwards or moves forward the truth's action and what hinders it. In short, the person begins to win true wisdom with its infallible intelligence. When you start living from the place inside yourself, which is contentment itself, when you quit searching outside of yourself for anything you need, then you awaken to the infallibility of the intelligence that gave rise to you. Guy goes on and writes, to this end, the work of being awake and self-aware must come before personal goals. Otherwise, the nature setting those goals may have an agenda that is contrary to genuine life. In other words, if there's a part of me that's damaged and broken and wounded, and it's the one setting goals for me, it's going to work against my benefit. Guy goes on and writes, one level of self feels it cannot be fulfilled without continually reinventing a new future for itself, wherein it is at last a winner, while our true nature still rests content in reality And it absolutely knows, it has this felt sense of knowing that it already possesses everything it needs. We must choose which of these natures we will nourish. Right? There's two wolves living inside you. One carries all of the loving energies and one carries all of the tense, bitter, angry, hurtful energies. And they're constantly battling within us. It's from this old Native American legend. And which one wins is determined by which one you feed. And that's the same message that Guy Finley's tapping into here. There's a place within you that resonates with the deep contentment that's just a natural part of its being. And when you act from that place, things will always go better. When you act from the place in you where it feels like there's lack or longing or aching or believing that your spiritual growth needs to come to you from the outside, when you act from that place, you act against your own best interests. So the next segment is titled 7 Ways to Make God's Life Your Own. And Guy Finley writes, recognizing the need for God in your life is the beginning of his entrance into it. And as God is always the initiating action, what may feel like your need is really the Creator's secret invitation. So it might seem like you're the one making the decision, or you're the one creating this impulse to know the Creator. But as Guy Finley talks about in a number of different lectures, it is necessary for everything you try when you want to get to know God to fail miserably, so that you give up trying your method and you ask God to assist you, to lift you into awareness of the relationship which has never left you. How we respond to this interior invitation determines the speed with which the Creator makes itself known to us. And the best response of all is to be in waiting to respond, for assuming this internal position means that our wish to be receptive outweighs the ancient anchor of worldly concerns. And should this elevated level of higher receptivity seem impossibly distant for now, here's why it doesn't have to remain that way. We are created to realize ever higher levels of being. This is the journey itself, not just unfolding around us, but as a real realization within us. This brings us to the purpose of this set of specialized instructions. This is the work of strengthening spiritual memory. So Guy asks, so what is spiritual memory? Spiritual memory is that part of your heart and mind through which the Creator first reminds you of its life. A moment's study provides this important spiritual finding. In your search for the higher life, you've no doubt come upon a truth, capital T truth, and then suddenly felt as though you had known that fact all your life. Only somehow you'd forgotten it. This wonderful awakening sensation is like unexpectedly running into and recognizing a long-lost friend. And in a sense, that is exactly what has happened. For in each such moment of higher remembering, where you know afresh some capital T truth that once was lost to you. You have also refreshed your relationship with the source of that truth, which is the Creator. This discovery can now be stated more succinctly. Quote, strengthening your spiritual memory helps awaken you to the mind and heart which holds your spiritual memory, so that each and every time we can remember to remember our Creator, it's the same as receiving, increasing, and accepting the Creator's invitation to make its life your own. Do your best to actualize the 7 exercises below in their appropriate moment. And don't be the least bit concerned over the results. You cannot fail at this exercise. Every effort you make to remember the Creator increases the Creator's connection and interest in you. And the Creator always gets what it wants. Point number 1, remembering to remember the Creator when doing needful business with another person will also remind you that not only is it impossible to serve 2 masters and hope to succeed, but that real success, capital R, real capital S success, comes to you as you see the truth of this. The truth of it is, you've never been disconnected from your source. So remembering to remember your awareness of your connection. The next point is remembering to remember the Creator in the middle of condemning yourself reminds you that you are much too harsh to be your own judge, and that there's a higher court of appeal whose verdict is the standing order to start your life all over. So the second point is you are going to be beating yourself up, and it's pointless. The Creator never judges you in that way. The third point is remembering to remember the Creator when taking your meals will help keep you from abandoning yourself to the nature which always abandons you after it has consumed its desire. Excuse me, suppressing a sneeze there. So the point here is when you abandon yourself by wanting to criticize yourself or beat yourself up or forget what you're doing in the moment because you're distracted for something else, when you're not being mindful and present and awake in the moment, you forget the connection. You forget your true nature. You start being harder on yourself. The fourth point is to remember the Creator in your travels reveals that wherever you may be going, your dwelling place is always where your heart is, and that no place is ever any better or worse than what you bring into it. The fifth point is remembering to remember the Creator while being lashed about by your own storming thoughts and feelings makes it evident that you do not have to stand out in the rain. So if you can remember your connection to your source, even when your thoughts are beating you up, you realize they don't have any lasting impact on you. They aren't actually creating the pain that you're feeling. It's an echo of a pain. The sixth point is remembering to remember the Creator in the midst of a conflict or dispute helps to clarify that you can either go on fighting over what is impermanent, or you can fight for your spiritual freedom by walking away from that inner neurotic nature and its compulsive need to win. The seventh point is when you remember to remember your Creator, when doubting that remembering the Creator does any good, This places your wish for what is true above your suspicion that you may not be sincere. Your wish to be true, your wish to know the truth, and making that, I'm getting flooded with ideas from Dr. Michael Ryce, who used to talk about love of truth before he decided to work that around for a better regulatory speech approach. So now we've suggested, and in a couple places in the writings he's done, he'll list it as honoring truth, because love of truth is not a verb, so you can't do love to somebody. And the point is that when I put honoring truth as my highest priority, I grow spiritually. When I want to grow spiritually as my highest priority, I get stuck. I fall into the trap of trying to know, trying to control, trying to resist the flow of life, rather than continually ask to be taught by the flow of life. So, again, we have plenty of time for comments, questions, backing up and repeating, sorting out. Here are 7 exercises that he recommends, that Guy Finley recommends. Remember to remember your connection to your Creator whenever you're doing business with another person. Remember to remember your connection to your Creator in the middle of condemning yourself, in the middle of your negative thoughts. In the book Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine, Chamine, he talks about using the negative thought pattern as a trigger for doing what he calls PQ reps, or gently focusing on their physical sensations in the moment. The sensation of the air moving through your nostrils, the sensation of your chest expanding when you breathe in or contracting. So even 10 or 15 seconds of shifting over to the focus on the physical present moment mindfulness is enough to strengthen your connection to that which can teach you, your sage, the wise. This is that connection to wisdom that each of us has. And he says, instead of just going, oh, darn, I slipped off. Oh, I'm thinking negative things. Oh, darn, I wish I hadn't done that. He says, let's use the awareness of those negative thoughts. They come from my saboteurs. And every time I become aware that I'm having a negative thought, I use it to trigger, let me have 10 seconds of centered breathing and internal focus, or 15 seconds of EFT tapping, or whatever it is, so that I break the cycle of the negative spinning thoughts, during which time I am forgetting my connection to my source, and I reestablish my awareness that this is a miracle of life expressing in form as my body, and that's not all that I am. It is just a part of what I'm able to focus on in this moment. The third exercise is try to remember your connection to your Creator when you're eating. And then you probably won't overeat, and you won't use food as a drug, and you won't eat things that are garbage and non-nutritional anywhere near as often if you remember your connection to your Creator as you eat. The fourth exercise is remember your connection to your Creator as you travel, and understand that wherever you go, you decide whether or not you like it, and whether or not it is part of the contentment that you carry within you. The next exercise is remembering to remember your Creator in the middle of your own stormy thoughts, in the middle of fears, in the middle of, the anxiety that might get generated around procrastination. The next exercise is remembering to remember your Creator in the midst of conflict or disputes with another. But what that does is it helps you understand that you can either go on fighting, arguing about being right, or you can cancel your need to be right, to use the jargon that's more familiar with this radio show and Michael Ryce's work. Cancel your need to be right and walk away from that inner neurotic nature inside yourself. You're not necessarily walking away from the other person, but you're definitely walking away from the inner neurotic nature that wants you to fight and argue about being right. The last exercise is remembering to remember your Creator when you're doubting that it's going to do any good to remember your Creator. So in other words, some part of your mind may be doubting the benefit of meditation or prayer or mindfulness, and you just keep, the old adage from the AA programs, fake it till you make it. Because as you do that, as you say to yourself, look, what's most important to me is remembering my connection to what animates me, what gave me life. As that happens, it's like accepting the invitation. It's throwing the door open so that God, light, love, Jesus, Yeshua, Ruka Dakucha, whatever you might conceptualize that as being, another level of intelligence can assist me. Because it seems as though the way the system is set up, that if I say, no, I don't want your help, I get to close the door. And if I say, yes, I'll take any help I can get, I throw the door wide open. So, I think I'll probably try and do one more here. Nobody raises a hand or asks a question. The next section is titled Self-Wholeness, the Hidden Path to True Happiness. And he begins the section with a quote by Jean de Salzman. Quote, "There is only one great life. I can enter into the experience only if I have first come to unity in myself, only if I have come to be a whole." HWHOLE. Guy Finley writes, what a beautiful and helpful truth this quote conveys, that we are all part of a greater whole, and we can experience that wholeness. But first we must become unified within ourselves. As many traditions teach us, and we have many, quote, selves, we each have many selves. And these selves are within us that have developed over time. There's the caring self, the angry self, the ambitious self, the lazy self, and so on. As circumstances call out each self, in parentheses he writes, we find a lost puppy, a coworker undermines us at work, etc., close parentheses. As these individual selves get called out, we begin to act from that self and completely forget the other parts of us. Has this ever happened to you? Perhaps we find ourselves overtaken by anger at our coworker and do something cruel that doesn't at all agree with the caring part of us. Later, we see what we've done and we blame our coworker for, quote, making us, close quotes, do what we did, never realizing that the part of us that acted was always lurking within us, waiting to come out. We acted as we did because when it came out, we believed that was all we were. And we forgot the other parts of us that know better than to act that way. As Jean de Salzman alludes to above, we can learn to observe ourselves instead of identifying fully with each passing character as it is called up, as though that's all we are. This new interior position enables us to come in touch with a more unified self that lies beyond all those temporary states. In this instance, we take a pause. We come to a more whole place within ourselves, and we can choose to take an action based on our deeper understanding rather than our initial angry response. This is the beginning of a more peaceful life, and as more individuals come into greater wholeness, they raise the level of the entire world. Even a quick search through the wisdom of the ages points to this timeless truth as essential for those of us who wish to not just to be whole, but to realize that indwelling wholeness, that alone can make our wish possible. So from the Upanishads he quotes, "Whosoever sees all beings in the soul, and the soul in all beings. What delusion or sorrow is there for one who sees unity? It has filled all, it is radiant, incorporeal, invulnerable, wise, intelligent, encompassing, self-existent. It organizes objects throughout eternity." He quotes Buddha saying, "Do not sit at home, do not go to the forest, but recognize mind wherever you are. When one abides in complete and perfect enlightenment, where is samsara and where is nirvana?" He writes, he quotes Gregory of Nazianzus, quote, "That man, by retiring from all externals and withdrawing into himself in the center of his own unity, becometh most like unto God." And then he quotes Vernon Howard, quote, "More and more our sincere seeker realizes his need to do nothing except to be aware to be an aware person, an awake and aware person from moment to moment. In one flash of insight, he banishes the awful compulsion to scheme, protect, avoid, revise, attack, grab, cling, retreat, resist, regret, worry, expect, struggle, insist, demand, crave, battle, blame, apologize, persuade, believe. The whole terrible burden is cleared away. In its place, he has a quiet awareness. The more our seeker realizes his need to do nothing except be an aware person, moment to moment, then all of these things vanish and he finds his place in quiet awareness. Guy Finley writes, "And to be certain, this last truth is far from being least when it comes to helping us solve the mystery of how we can rise above the illusion of separation. Not just being separate from one another, but we have the illusion of being separate from the divine heart that beats the drum in us. If we know the content of our own heart, when we can be consciously aware of this condition, then we not only know the secret contents of the heart of everyone else we meet, but we also know that there is no difference between us and all of these, quote, others, close quotes. In the realization of this undivided life, we are given the grace of knowing that the Creator is one and that each one of us is a secret measure of its divine life. Yeah, its divine life. That one cosmic curriculum, the invisible cosmic curriculum. And the only point of the curriculum is to awaken the student, the soul, the individual, to the awareness of the intelligence that created the curriculum. So that's all I'm going to read for today. We have plenty of time for comments and questions, answers, soliloquies, suggestions.
Dr. Tim?
Don, yes?
A little bit off topic, but I do love this book, and I can't wait for it to come out. I'm not really familiar. I know all the Guy Finley stuff is good. I haven't really read them. Although I listened to the one on CD, but yeah, I'm really excited for this. My question has to do with, and I know Susan's on, and I think you have some experience with this too, that from things you said before. So something has come up in my life, like good, bad, sort of, or let's say good and painful, but not in a horrible way. And I feel like I need to journal some of this out. Now, I've never journaled before, but it's one of those many, many things that I've known that I should have been doing for, the last few decades. And so a couple things, like one, I have like apparently a very unusually good memory. So that's like a blessing and a curse in terms of getting beyond things or getting things out of my head, which is sort of what I want to do with this journaling. I'm also very detailed oriented, which is a blessing curse, and I'm seem to be pretty aware, which is a blessing and a curse. So since I think both you and Susan have some experience with journaling, I wanted to see if, tangentially, it seems like it's a practice that does help you get things out of your head. To go from the head to the paper can somehow relieve some of that, whatever, tape player going over and over again, and also bring you some clarity. You're probably familiar with this author, Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way and a few others. And
that's what I was thinking about as you were talking, and the pages of writing in the morning that she invites people to in that.
Right, yeah. So yeah, she has that morning pages idea. I haven't read the book, but my ex-wife did because she was a reader and did that. And I actually looked it up. Thank you, AI told me that she does recommend people actually write them out by hand as opposed to typing, although you could typing. And so I'm going to do that. And I thought I would even try to write in cursive, which I don't think I've done on a regular basis other than like on cards since I was in high school. So anyway, I just wanted to see what the two of you or anybody else's thoughts are in terms of journaling helping to get, painful or just, I'm not really unhappy. It's a mixture of happy, unhappy, but there's going to be not possible to have a resolution the way I would want it, just let's say, to be vague. So I want to know if putting it down on paper, by hand is something that's going to be beneficial to me in terms of clearing that stuff out of my head and, making room for new thoughts.
Is that a sincere question?
Yes, it is, because I've never done journaling before, even though I know that I should have for a multitude of reasons.
But you're also pointing out that you've been aware of and you've either read about or you've heard people talk about lots and lots of people that get a benefit from this.
Right, but I'm not,
The very benefit that you're asking us to tell you that you're going to get.
all right. Well, I know there's a benefit to it. I guess I wasn't sure exactly the sort of texture of the benefit. I mean, I assume I assume that this would be very helpful, but you know what happens when you assume. So that's why I'm asking.
Okay, and so if I told you it's a horrible idea, you're not going to get any benefits, stay away from it, you will not journal? Or if I
Uh,
told you it's a great idea, lots of people benefit from it, it may or may not work for you, but give it a try, you will?
yeah, I mean, you're right. I would probably do it anyway. I guess I just wanted some feedback on, your personal experiences from it, since I have no personal experience. So I only have imaginary experience with it.
Now, this may or may not be true for you, but in my head, I'm saying, if I had this much resistance, if I was calling other people, asking them, trying to get them to say the right thing to help nudge me to be willing to go do this, I would probably be harboring some fear about doing it. And
Oh,
so I would encourage you to journal about what you think might be bad about journaling.
yeah, I mean, there's an element to that, but it's not just journal. I guess I should say I'm at the point now in my life where the underlying issue from childhood, and I understand in my evaluation, and I understand the reason this developed in the first place, is an underlying issue of anxiety that has made it, except for brief periods of my life, to sit down and focus on any one thing. I feel like that anxiety now is as low as it's been, as far as I can remember. And I feel like I am able to do it now, and I do want to start. So that's been the resistance. I mean, yeah, I mean, anxiety and fear go sort of hand in hand for sure. But it's not just a fear of writing. It's just a fear that I can't sit down and focus on things like I could at one point in my life. I mean, I hate these, sort of medical diagnoses, but I kind of felt at one point like I had adult ADHD, even though I for sure didn't think I had it when I was a young child. But after, numerous life events, that anxiety that was always under the surface and had been sort of instilled in me one way or another from a young child under stress. It's like Michael talks about, I guess, with power persons under stress, that, anxiety came up and it was hard for me to focus. But like I said, that's like, I don't know, 98% better now. And I feel like I'm ready to do the journaling and a lot of other things. So that's why I'm asking.
Well, so I just want to go on record directly saying I think it would be very valuable. The essence of how it is more valuable than just having a conversation with somebody or trying to think your way through it is it bypasses the conscious logical. So when you will let yourself journal about or in an area, like Michael uses, he calls it the mind shifter tool. I've always known it as targeted journaling. Give me a sentence stem, give me a prompt, give me a statement to react to, and that's what I call targeted journaling. So you're not just sitting there writing whatever comes into your mind about anything, but you're writing whatever comes into your mind in response to the specific statement or image, etc.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
And
that's
when
something.
you and when you do that, you're inviting your unconscious to just show up and, you know, come to conscious awareness.
Right. That's something I should do too. I mean, this is stuff that, like, if I could have all the gazillion thoughts together, organized in my mind at one time, it probably would be better to share them all with the person directly. But that's impossible for other reasons. And two, there's no way that in one sitting I could remember all the already thousands of sentences that have gone on in my mind in the last few weeks. So I just want to write them down as if I am talking to that person in a sense, expressing my feelings. It's not, and like one day maybe I will give these writings or thoughts to her or share them, but maybe I won't. It's not really important that she, to me at least, it's not important that she reads them or knows them. Some of the ideas, I mean, she already knows, but it's more important for me to write it out so that I can sort of move on and, like I said, out of my head.
Okay, Susan, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say it sounds, Dawn, as if writing you're requiring, you think the way to do it is cursive writing or less good is on the computer. Maybe just what are you comfortable with, even talking into your iPhone on the notes, using the notes app, and just press the little microphone and talk. And you could do this, many times, adding to it, and then you could send it to yourself to edit if it's worth dealing with. Just another idea of how to record things if the act of recording is hard for you. Certainly you're good at talking because you just talked, and so maybe talking into your iPhone might be good. But I do recommend doing it.
Yeah, the other thing is I have like 2 or 3 long letters that I need to write, and I've needed to write for a long time, and I'm hoping this is the entree to doing that. And yeah, I'm such a Luddite. I do use notes, but I haven't used the microphone, and like the gazillion things that I want to write to somebody else. Yeah, I could have been recording them the whole time because they're probably lost now. I'll come up with other things, but like the things, oh, that's really good, I've probably lost it. The only reason I'm doing it by hand is because I know from brain science says that writing things out by hand is, well, I guess they talk about this more in terms of taking notes in a class, but writing things out by hand is much more beneficial for your brain than typing on a keyboard. And like I said, Julia Cameron apparently recommends that you do these morning pages by hand, although it's not, mandatory.
Well, it's time for the end of the hour. I do have another, just talking to somebody else and having them listen and give feedback, not the somebody that's on your mind, but somebody neutral who you could talk to. But anyway, it's 1:00, so good luck, whatever it is. It sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, thanks. It has been.
And just, the thing I would add is you can have all of the idea about how writing it out by longhand, eye-hand coordination, parts of the brain, lock it in, stir stuff up. And yet, if that's not comfortable enough for you to just start doing it, any of the suggestions that Susan just gave are better than doing nothing or procrastinating. So I'll just leave you with that.
Yeah, I agree. I got to let go of perfectionism. But also this particular event, like you mentioned the other day, Guy Finley said, there is a blessing in this whole thing. It's completely wonderful in a lot of respects. So that blessing is hiding in plain sight for everything that's difficult. I totally agree with him.
All right. Well, thanks for your comments and questions. As always, I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else